This is the second demonstration of the effective firearms stopping power calculator, which now provides up to 7 indicators of bullet effectiveness. In order to avoid any perceived favoritism between, say, Android and iPhone, this example uses the Windows Phone simulator instead. However, as shown on the page here, the app is available on all the major platforms. iPhone from Apple's App Store, Windows Phone, and Android from both Google Play and Amazon. The earlier demonstration on the page here, effectivefirearms.com/app.html, that earlier demonstration illustrated stopping power example, illustrated how to use the calculator to obtain 6 of the indicators provided. The impetus for this example is to illustrate the newest element added to the calculator, the optimum game weight, as introduced by Edward Matunas in the April 1992 issue of Guns magazine, and hereafter occasionally referred to as OGW. Please note that the formula in the original article was incorrect and was probably corrected in the next edition of the magazine. The references listed in the phone and the about text will give the corrected formula, links to articles showing the corrected formula. And also note that Optimum Game Weight is not yet available on the iPhone, but coming soon. The first thing to note is that unlike the other formulas, such as Taylor knockout factor, Thorniley stopping power, Hatcher relative stopping power, these other formulas all provide relative values. Optimum game weight provides an absolute value, the maximum game weight that a particular bullet weight and velocity should be effective for. And when you read back, again, when you look at the articles and the references, you'll see where various authors express concerns and reservations about each formula. We won't revisit those here. While Hatcher developed his formula with a view toward personal defense, Taylor and Thorniley were big game hunters and did not have the limitation of Hatcher in that bullet form was not really considered. Not considered in the sense that nobody is likely to hunt a rhino or a bull elephant with a hollow point. And so in their domain, probably everything was full metal jacket. I think one of them, either Taylor or Thorniley, had expressly said that the idea in developing his formula was that if you shoot a bull elephant and miss the brain, meaning that you are now faced with an enraged elephant, the goal was to provide the maximum time for a second shot. While Matunas developed optimum game weight for hunting, it covers all game weights. However, it seems skewed toward the higher velocity of rifles and is not accurate for the lower velocity of handguns, as will be illustrated by our first example. Let's take a typical .45 example of 835 feet per second. Muzzle velocity, bullet weight of 230 grains. We'll select the caliber of .45 ACP. There we go. And just so that we can see the expanded Hatcher values, let's take a bullet form of soft point. Type calculate. And so with 4 inputs, muzzle velocity, bullet weight, caliber, and the bullet form, we can calculate 7 stopping power indicators: momentum, muzzle or kinetic energy, Matunas optimum game weight, Taylor knockout factor, Thorniley stopping power, Hatcher relative stopping power, and Hatcher relative stopping power expanded values, which would be displayed for hollow points or soft points. Again, Taylor, Thorniley, and Hatcher all provide relative values. You have to be familiar with their scale for the numbers to make any sense. Whereas Matunas Optimum Game Weight provides an absolute value, the maximum game weight that a particular bullet weight and velocity should be effective for. Unfortunately, it is obvious that 46 pounds is incorrect, as that would indicate a 45 is only appropriate for fairly small game. But let's clear this and look at a more relevant optimum game weight example. Let's take an example using one of the references. Start with a velocity of 2,900 feet per second and a bullet weight of 180 grains. Tapping calculate gives an optimum weight of 1,185 pounds. If we select caliber 30-06, click calculate, we get the Taylor and Thorniley values. But again, they are relative values. You would need to know the scale for them to be meaningful. We would have to select a bullet form in order to obtain a Hatcher value, but we'll skip that. Also note this is based on the muzzle velocity. The maximum weight would be considerably lower, several hundred yards out. So let's clear this and look at a second optimum game weight example illustrating a unique aspect in comparison to Taylor and Thorniley. Let's start with a velocity of 3,430 feet per second, weight of 100 grains. This load is for a frangible varmint bullet for smaller game. Because varmint bullets have lower penetration, Matunas use a different constant factor to calculate the optimum weight. So we'll check the V box here. And for technical reasons, the iPhone version will have a button instead of a checkbox. But tap the V box to indicate that this is a varmint load and that the alternate constant factor should be used. Tapping calculate gives an optimum weight of 202 pounds. If we select the caliber of 270 Winchester, click calculate again, we get the Taylor and Thorniley values. Note that OGW does not take the caliber into account, which is an issue for many. When using the calculator, be sure to select to enable the V for varmint when you're using the varmint load. Otherwise, your weight will not be accurate. To illustrate this, let's uncheck the V, tap calculate, and the weight increases to 605 pounds, which would not be correct for a frangible bullet with low penetration. Again, the value of the effective firearm stopping power calculator is having these values available at your fingertips with just a few inputs. No extensive tapping on a calculator, no internet connection required, no equipment or devices are needed beyond your cell phone. I am not aware of any one site that provides all 7 of these values. And using the app, these values can be easily obtained while standing in a store evaluating ammunition on the shelf. To conclude, it's available on all the major platforms from all the major providers. Windows version from Windows Phone Store, iPhone version from Apple's App Store, and the Android version is available from both Google and from the Amazon App Store.